यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टत्रस्त श्री श्रीमद अभय चरण भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नाम आचार्य शहरदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद के श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ राधा श्याम कुंज गोवर्धन के वृंदावन धाम के मायापुर धाम के गंगामयी के यमुनामयी के तुलसी देवी के भक्ति देवी के समवेत भक्त वृंद की Trinity गौर प्रमानंद all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories of great Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 9, text 27. So please repeat. Dāna-dharmān, Rāja-dharmān, mokṣa-dharmān, vibhāgaśaḥ, strī-dharmān, bhagavat-dharmān, samāsa-vyāsa-yogataḥ, dāna-dharmān, rāja-dharmān, mokṣa-dharmān, vibhāgaśaḥ, strī-dharmān, bhagavat-dharmān, samāsa-vyāsa-yogataḥ, dāna-dharmān, rāja-dharmān, mokṣa-dharmān, vibhāgaśaḥ, strī-dharmān, bhagavat-dharmān, samāsa-vyāsa-yogataḥ, dāna-dharmān, rāja-dharmān, mokṣa-dharmān, vibhāgaśaḥ, strī-dharmān, bhagavat-dharmān, samāsa-vyāsa-yogataḥ. dāna-dharmān, the acts of charity. Rāja-dharmān, pragmatic activities of the kings. Mokṣa-dharmān, the acts of salvation. Vibhāgaśaḥ, by divisions. Strī-dharmān, duties of woman. Bhagavat-dharmān, the acts of the devotees. Samāsa, generally. Vyāsa, explicitly. Yogataḥ, by means of. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. He then explained by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. Now, in this purport, there are actually so many very important points. So, we will do it a little bit differently today. I'll just read some portion and then we can talk on the specific point and then continue. Otherwise, we will miss something, for sure. Now, maybe we can start with one Dharma. Now we are talking about Dharma. This is bhagavad-dharma, strī-dharmān, Rāja-dharma. Now, so many Dharma. Dharma means actually nature. Nature of, we are talking Varnashrama Dharma, so then Varna Ashrama, the Dharma of the Varnas and Ashramas. So Bhishma is explaining that. But we have to understand that Dharma, everything has its own Dharma. You see, like the light. The Dharma of the light is to give light. If it works, then it follows its Dharma. And then it's good. Microphone is supposed to catch the sound. When it does that, it performs its Dharma and then it's good. Right? The seed. Okay. Seed should hold you. Potency of the Lord, right? So it's holding. And then follow its Dharma. Cup. Holds water. That's the Dharma of the cup. So the same like, okay, kartals. Right? The Dharma of the kartals is to produce nice sound. Vibrating. But when it's broken, it doesn't produce nice sound. So it's not following its Dharma. So it has to be replaced, it has to be changed. Something has to be done. So when everything is properly following its Dharma, everybody is following not their Dharmas, then things are properly working. That's how it's meant. Okay, so then let's start with the purport. So, purport. To give charity is one of the householder's main functions, and he should be prepared to give in charity at least 50% of his hard-earned money. Because Rupa Goswami, he describes then the proper way of utilizing one's earning. So he said 50% of one's earning then should be given for Krishna conscious activities. 25% one should keep for his maintenance. And 25% should be kept for emergencies. And we see, all the Goswamis, they followed. We see here such a nice example, Kolvacha Sridhar. He would follow all the time, even though he had almost nothing, but he would always give 50% for Krishna conscious activities. Now, sometimes it is not properly understood. Like, okay, how is it possible? How can I do it? What's talked about here, it's the profit, what you get. So, somebody is earning maybe, 10,000 rupees. Okay? But then there are bills to be paid. There is needs to buy food, need to pay electricity, right? The rent, and so many things which are always there. So from what one earns has to be taken off, because that's recurring expense and it has to be taken care of every month. Now, after taking that off, so all the necessities are paid. Now, what's left? So say that after paying all the bills, there's 5,000 rupees left. So that's what, after everything is paid, everybody is taken care of. Now, what it is that left, 50% from that should be given for Krishna consciousness. 25% then should be given for entertainment, now whatever one needs, go somewhere, visit places, visit relatives, no, whatever it may be, and 25% then should be kept for emergencies, in case something happens, somebody gets sick, right? So then the medical expenses, they sometimes are very expensive. So not from what one gets, it's calculated, but what's left from after paying all the necessities. Now, of course, it's understood that one doesn't cheat, right? Oh, no, I need everything. No, I have a necessity to buy a car, no, new car, last month, or phone, right? Last month I bought one, but now it's old. There is a new model, so I have necessity to buy the phone. Not like that. What's the necessity? That's the expense. So that should be now taken off from. But that profit, they should be calculated 50, 25, 25. A brahmachari or a student should perform sacrifices, as how a householder should give charity, and a person in the retired life or in the renounced order should practice penances and austerities. Those are the general functions of all the ashramas or orders of life on the path of self-realization. In the brahmachari life, the training is sufficiently imparted so that one may understand that the world as properly belongs to the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Now just one example. The Maya is very strong. Srila Prabhupada always talks about anybody can fall under the clutches of Maya. Right? It's possible. We should never think that we are stronger than Maya. We don't have to care about. We should actually be afraid of Maya, and therefore follow our Dharma, do what's supposed to do. Example, now from Bhagavatam, we see Ajamil. He was a very good brahmachari. But due to some circumstances, then he fell into the clutches of Maya. He got attracted to a prostitute, got married, had some children, and living life which was nothing to do with what he was trained for. However, at the end of his life, he was able to remember Narayan. And the Acharyas speak about it, it was due to his training in the beginning of his life as brahmachari that he was able to remember that at the end of his life. So there is always a chance, and therefore the training in the beginning of one's life is very important. Even if the rest of the life doesn't go maybe so well, but there is always a good chance that the person will be able to reflect on what he was trained in the beginning of his life. Therefore, it is very important. No one, therefore, can claim to be the proprietor of anything in the world. Therefore, in the life of householder, which is a sort of license for sex enjoyment, one must give in charity for the service of the Lord. Everyone's energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant actions of such energy must be given to the Lord in the shape of transcendental loving service for Him. As the rivers draw water from the sea through the clouds and again go down to the sea, similarly, our energy is borrowed from the Supreme Source, the Lord's energy, and it must be returned to the Lord. That is the perfection of our energy. The Lord, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita 9.27 says that whatever we do, whatever we undergo as penance, whatever we sacrifice, whatever we eat, or whatever we give in charity must be offered to Him, the Lord. That is the way of utilizing our borrowed energy. When our energy is utilized in that way, our energy is purified from the contamination of material inebrities, and thus we become fit for our original nature, natural life of service to the Lord. So this is extremely important point. The Ishavasa principle. Now, there is the energy of the Lord, and we get access to borrowed energy. It's like from the bank, right? Now, you have a need, you take a loan. So, you are qualified, you can take the loan. But the loan is a loan. So, you have to return it. Otherwise, there will be some penalty, some punishment. So, the same way, we live here in the material world. For everything what we have, we are obliged to the Lord. Once we start understanding that we are not this body and that we are a spirit soul, then we start, and we should start to contemplate about, then, okay, so what is this body? If it's not me and it's not mine, so where is it coming from? And now, okay, what am I supposed to do with it? So you got the body to use it properly. According to one's free will, you can use it. But you are not supposed to abuse it. So that's the meaning. Now, if one doesn't want to understand that, then that is the way of how you do something wrong, then you get punished. So, until we learn to understand that that's what it is. It's not mine. It's lent to me, so then I can properly utilize to become Krishna conscious and to be freed from the body. And we are talking about the Stula Sharira, and we are talking also about the Linga Sharira. Stula Sharira means the gross body. Linga Sharira means the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So eventually we want to get free of both kind of bodies, to be freed and to be able to return to the spiritual world. Raja-dharma is a great science. Unlike modern diplomacy for political supremacy, the kings were trained systematically to become munificent and not merely be tax collectors. They were trained to perform different sacrifices only for the prosperity of the subjects. To lead the prajās to the attainment of salvation was the great duty of a king. The father, the spiritual master, and the king are not to become irresponsible in that matter of leading their subjects to the path of ultimate liberation from birth, death, disease, and old age. When these primary duties are properly discharged, there is no need of government of the people by the people. In modern days, the people in general occupy the administration by the strength of manipulated votes, but they are never trained in the primary duties of the king, and that is also not possible for everyone. Under the circumstances, the untrained administrators play havoc to make the subjects happy in all respects. So, here, now Srila Prabhupada talks about the necessity of one being trained. So the king, he first of all has to be trained in good qualities. So it starts from the beginning. So the samskaras are there. So due to the samskaras, then the living entity, who is then born as a king, then gains good qualities. Then when he is being trained, then these good qualities are being stressed on, and if there are some bad qualities, then that's being eliminated. Because the king has to be pious. He has to follow his dharma. And because of that, then people can be depending on him. So he is also not just pious, but he is also God conscious. So not only that he performs pious activities, which it's good, it's an important part, but he has to be God conscious. Then the people can actually rely on him, that he will help them to fulfill the meaning of human life. But as Srila Prabhupada says, now when there's the government of the people by the people, then who are the people? They are untrained. They don't know what is the right thing to do. So what they are going to focus on? Now you see how it's going, right? Everybody focuses on economics. Money becomes God. You have money, you are able to do anything. You can buy anything, you can buy anyone, right? So these qualities are being completely destroyed, the good qualities of people. Just because, the greed for wealth. But it's wrong. And then people who are uninterested for monetary wealth, but they are interested in the wealth of knowledge. To those people, it's not being much paid attention. Or who want to realize, come to platform of self-realization by austerities, penances, by devotional service. That's not being considered very important. So this government of the people, by the people, it's by the Vaishyas, and they, as Srila Prabhupada says, they don't mind manipulate the votes, so they get what they want. And then we see also all these people who have money, the big corporations, they have their own people now in the government, and everything goes according to how they want. So it's not for the people, and it's not by the people either. It's those who know how to talk. Like for example, you see Hitler, right? Now, what was he good at? He was a very good orator. So he could talk, and he swayed people to do something which they would never do. But he created like a mass hysteria, the crowd, and therefore he convinced the people that something has to be done which they wouldn't do on their own. So the difference between the diplomacy of the kings and politics as we see it nowadays, it's very simple. The main difference is that the king, he also is diplomatical. We see like Chanakya Pandit. He followed very strict, he was very diplomatic. But for the purpose of dharma, he was doing it not for himself.
he was doing it for others. But when seemingly the same thing is being done for myself, then it's politics. I want the benefit from that. And that's not good. So, the training of the kshatriyas, the administrators, to be able to give protection to the people, it's the most important. Like another example, we see King Vena, right? King Vena, he was a very bad king. But from a very childhood, he was like that, explained in Bhagavatam, because he didn't get proper samskaras. The father, he was a great devotee, but the mother, she wasn't. And there was a problem. And the father tried to train him properly, but he could not. And so his ruling was very selfish. But he was very cruel, and because of that, then it's seeming like just, to some extent. Thieves were afraid of him. If somebody would steal something, he would kill. So, but then, he still was pious enough not to disturb the brahmanas. But when he started to disturb the tapasvis, the brahmanas, those performing sacrifices, so then the brahmanas had to do something, and they removed him. So, the training of the king, it's very important, because the whole nation depends on the king. And the king itself, he is not making the decision by himself. He has his own ministers, advisors, who are actually advising him. But those ministers, they are brahmanas, but they are not attached to the king has to decide according to what they say. So they have no say in the decision of the king. The king has to make the decision. But they should give proper advice, what's the best according to Guru Sadhu Shastra. So the brahmanas will not take, like in the case of King Vena, they removed him, but they didn't take the position, okay, now I can go into the palace and I can enjoy the riches of the palace. No, they removed him and they left. Chanakya Pandit also, when Chandragupta became very rich king, and he had many palaces, a great palace, Chanakya Pandit would never live in the palace. He would always live in the grass hut outside of the palace. He would never take anything from the king, not to become obliged. Unlike, say, like Dronacharya. Dronacharya, he came to serve the king, and therefore he was obliged to follow what the king says. Okay. On the other hand, these untrained administrators gradually become rogues and thieves and increase the taxation to finance a top-heavy administration that is useless for all purposes. Actually, the qualified brahmanas are meant to give direction to the kings for proper administration in terms of the scriptures like the Manu-saṁhitā and Dharma-śāstras of Parashara. A typical king is the ideal of the people in general, and if the king is pious, religious, chivalrous and munificent, the citizens generally follow him. Such a king is not a lazy, sensuous person living at the cost of the subject, but alert always to kill thieves and dacoits. The pious kings were not merciful to dacoits and thieves in the name of nonsensical ahimsa, non-violence. The thieves and dacoits were punished in an exemplary way, so that in the future no one would dare commit such nuisance in an organized form. Such thieves and dacoits were never meant for administration as they are now. So, unfortunately that's what's happening. And the politics are meant to elect such thieves and dacoits. The taxation law was simple. There was no force, no encroachment. The king had a right to take 1/4 of the production made by the subject. The king had a right to claim 1/4 of one's allotted wealth. One would never grudge parting with it because due to the pious king and religious harmony, there was enough natural wealth, namely grains, fruits, flowers, silk, cotton, milk, jewels, minerals, etc. And therefore no one was materially unhappy. The citizens were rich in agriculture and animal husbandry, and therefore they had enough grains, fruits and milk without any artificial needs of soaps and toilets, cinemas and bars. Just an example. Hopefully, you probably went to Srirangam temple. And did you see the kitchen? So, there's a kitchen, cooking for Ranganath. Now, they have a well. So the well, it's not now, but it used to be always full of ghee for their cooking. Now there's a deep well. Now when they cook, so then they have stoves in line, and there is like a little channel going. So there was a person who would take always the ghee and put it into the channel. The ghee was flowing, and the cook would take from the channel as much ghee as he wants. So no restriction on ghee, and that was not like a adulterated ghee or dalda. Now what do you get nowadays? There was the pure organic ghee, which you say from A2 cows, right? No, which cost, I don't know, like 1,000 rupees liter or something or more. Nowadays they sell it as organic. So that ghee was full of, that's opulence. Then behind that, there are like two big pools. It's like, I don't know, like 8-10 meters, like a cube. And one was for milk and one was for yogurt. So that's for cooking for the Lord, right? That's opulence. Even I have read in one cookbook, that's like 120 years old cookbook. And in the introduction, Bengali cookbook, there is written also price of ingredients. So something costs like 1 anna, 2 annas, and whatever it is. But the comparison, 1 liter of ghee the price for 1 liter of ghee was the same as 3 liters of milk. So 3 liters of milk would be of the same price as 1 liter of ghee. That's opulence. Nowadays, nobody can buy ghee because it's so expensive. But when things are available, good quality things are available, ghee is necessary. But we don't have the money to buy ghee, so we buy oils, and the cheapest oils, and the palm oil or soya oil or rice oil, and the cheapest possible, but it's unhealthy. Ghee specifically works on the brain, same like milk. So consuming ghee is very healthy and very good, especially for children, for their development. But we compromise on that because no money. So no money, no opulence. So who has better lifestyle? Now we, with all the gadgets what we have, or people before who had such an opulence that they could afford have everything on ghee. Right? And we call it advancement. The king had to see that the reserve energy of humanity was properly utilized. Human energy is meant not exactly for fulfilling animal propensities, but for self-realization. The whole government was specifically designed to fulfill this particular purpose. As such, the king had to select properly the cabinet ministers, but not on the strength of voting background. The ministers, the the ministers, the military commanders, and even the ordinary soldiers were all selected by personal qualification, and the king had to supervise them properly before they were appointed to their respective posts. Right? The king would take the advice, but he would take advice only from somebody whom he trusts, because that's what he needs. He is going to make decisions which are on the national level importance. So he needs to know that when it comes to, he has to be able to support it. So only some good brahmana, a good minister, give you such an advice. And we see, like on the court of Akbar, his prime minister was Birbal, who wasn't a Muslim, he was a Hindu. But he was not only skilled in Shastra, but he was also very clever and intelligent. So that's why he was, by qualification, now put on the post of prime minister. The king was especially vigilant to see that the tapasvis, or persons who sacrificed everything for disseminating spiritual knowledge, were never disregarded. The king knew well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead never tolerates any insult to his unalloyed devotees. Such tapasvis were trusted leaders even of the rogues and thieves, who would never disobey the orders of tapasvis. Example, we see Narada Muni. Narada Muni, he goes and he preaches to everyone. So he preaches to the sadhus, he preaches not to the devotees, he preaches to Hiranyakashipu, he preaches to Ravana, and they all respect him. He is not an enemy. They have a great respect for him because they know he is a tapasvi, so he has no other interest than to help people to become Krishna conscious. So everybody would respect him. The king would give special protection to illiterates, the helpless, and widows of the state. Defense measures were arranged previous to any attack by the enemies. The taxing process was easy, and it was not meant for squandering, but was strengthening the reserve fund. The soldiers were recruited from all the parts of the world, and they were trained for special duties. As far as salvation is concerned, one has to conquer the principles of lust, anger, unlawful desires, avarice, and bewilderment. To get freedom from anger, one should learn how to forgive. To be free from unlawful desires, one should not make plans. By spiritual culture, one is able to conquer sleep. By tolerance only, one can conquer desire and avarice. Disturbances from various diseases can be avoided by regulated diets. By self-control, one can be free from false hopes, and money can be saved by avoiding undesirable association. By practice of yoga, one can control hunger, and worldliness can be avoided by culturing the knowledge of impermanence. Dizziness can be conquered by raising up, and false arguments can be conquered by factual ascertainment. Talkativeness can be avoided by gravity and silence, and by prowess one can avoid fearfulness. Perfect knowledge can be obtained by self-cultivation. One must be free from lust, avarice, anger, dreaming, etc., to actually attain the path of salvation. So in this paragraph, most, if not all, our problems are explained. And if we take it seriously, then we find also the solution to our problems. So it's good, at least this paragraph, maybe just we can read it on our own, time to time, and practice it. Because that's what it is for. Bhagavatam is here for us, so then we learn how to practice from it. Not just, okay, we see, we hear, we go, we forget. Not like that. Practice. As far as the woman class are concerned, they are accepted as the power of inspiration for men. As such, women are more powerful than men. Mighty Julius Caesar was controlled by Cleopatra. Such powerful women are controlled by shyness. Therefore, shyness is important for women. Once this control valve is loosened, woman can create havoc in the society by adultery. Adultery means production of unwanted children known as Varna-shankara, who disturb the world. So that's the whole misunderstanding of when we misunderstand the position of women in our society. They are, Srila Prabhupada says, actually more powerful than men, and maybe not by strength, but by their influence. It's their relationship with the husband. We see Kardama Muni, now when after he got married, then he thought, still kind of like being a tapasvi, so then he went into the meditation. But then Devahuti, his wife already, then my husband, then he's meditating, then I cannot do anything. So then she wouldn't eat. She would also sacrifice everything because the husband wouldn't eat, she wouldn't eat. So that's her sacrifice. Now, so she didn't take care of herself. And that was a great austerity for her. So then, when Kardama Muni comes back to his senses and he sees how neglected she is, then he felt really bad for her. Because he, as a husband, he has to give the protection, but he was not giving. So at that time, because he was a great yogi, so he made great arrangements. So then he produced thousands of maidservants just for devotee, new clothes, jewelry, and a flying city. And he didn't say, okay, now this is your flying city, just you go, you can go wherever you want, I'm going to meditate here. No. They went together for, you can say, honeymoon or whatever, but it was anywhere in the universe. The city, the Vimana, goes by speed of mind. So you think of some Brahmaloka, Siddhaloka, Patala-loka, any loka you think, you are there. So that's the power of the yogi. But we see, and it's described, they actually enjoy together. There were many things. There was a golden city with full of palaces, waterfalls, lakes, birds, some animals, flowers, gardens, beautiful gardens, and everything was there. Not like in the airplane you sit and then you have to sit like a squat somewhere there. No. And so we say, so what kind of yogi he is? But we should not forget that all was sanctioned by the Lord. He was perfectly Krishna conscious. She was perfectly Krishna conscious. And the result of that was that they had a son, Kapiladev, the Lord himself. So it's not wrong for a grihasta to pay attention to his family. In fact, this is a must. And not just produce material things, but also take care of the family members, the wife, the children. That's necessary. That's the meaning of taking taking the position of a grihasta. That becomes the dharma. And once, then children are grown up, like in Kapiladev, he grew up immediately. Okay, so then he was grown up, he was able to take care of Devahuti, so then Kardama Muni immediately left. He renounced everything. He took sannyas. So that's fine, that's good. But before that, No, one has to take care. If you don't want to, then don't become grihastha. Then live like a tapasvi. Then renounce order of life, and then that's fine. But we cannot pick and choose what's better for us, what we like more, and try to combine it. It doesn't work. Sometimes devotees think, okay, I'll stay as a bachelor. What does it mean, bachelor? Bachelor means like, somebody who is not married, but he is not a brahmachari. Brahmachari means he has authority. So he is answerable to his authority. Grihastha means that he has responsibilities. So brahmachari, he doesn't have to worry about anything. He just has to worry about fulfilling the orders of his authority. But he doesn't have any possession, that doesn't need. Everything is being taken care of. The grihastha, he has a possession, he is making money, he is taking care of things, but he has a responsibility that whatever he is taking care of runs properly. And that's especially the family. So then the children get proper care, the wife gets proper care, the children are properly educated. So all that the grihastha has to properly taken care of. Once the children are big enough, then they can take care of the mother. So then the father can go and renounce the grihastha ashram. But so then the bachelors, they feel that I can actually live basically like a grihastha, make money, but since I'm single, I don't need to spend the money for anybody, so I can enjoy it myself. So no responsibility. So you can work, become rich, but no responsibility to anyone. So you can use the money as you want. It seems ideal. But here the problem comes. Because of that, there is no ashrama or no varna as such. And because of that, the feeling that, okay, I have found the best way how to live in the material world. So then, when such a person leaves body, what is he going to think? Oh, it wasn't so bad. I don't mind taking birth again. And that's the trouble. For when the ashrama and the varna is properly followed, there are always going to be some austerities, some calamities, some problems. So when done properly, one's life leads to the realization that you cannot avoid it, and I have enough of it. So I don't want to take birth again in the material world, and therefore I will just fully surrender to Krishna, and it's easier. But when you don't have that background and a feeling that actually it is, that you realize that it is not good, then why not to take birth again? And again. And again. It's a problem. The last item taught by Bhishmareva was the process of pleasing the Lord. We are all eternal servants of the Lord, and when we forget this essential part of our nature, we are put into material conditions of life. The simple process of pleasing the Lord, for the householders especially, is to install the deity of the Lord at home. By concentrating on the deity, one may progressively go on with the daily routine work. Worshipping the deity at home, serving the devotee, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, residing in a holy place, and chanting the holy name of the Lord are all inexpensive items by which one can please the Lord. Thus, the subject matter was explained by the grandfather to his grandchildren. Hare Krishna. Okay, so maybe we are still on time. Any questions? There was so much of material. Yes, yes. Any mic anywhere, somewhere?
Hare Krishna. So, Maharaj, in our movement, getting bigger and bigger since Srila Prabhupada, we get all kinds of people. Right? And should we try to get them to that point where they will accept four regulative principles and chanting of Hare Krishna mantra? Because I started noticing that even after 30 years being close with the devotees, they do not accept our way of life fully, even though they consider themselves devotees. So what should we do with this? They've been called marginals, they've been called, our congregation or whatever. I just want to know, should I invest my energy into trying to get them to this point, or what should we do with this kind of long-lived things?
Okay. Srila Prabhupada, no, he dealt with these very simply. He would encourage people to just add chanting Hare Krishna to your life. Just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And now whatever you do, okay, continue doing. Now by chanting the holy name, when properly done, then the heart becomes purified. And then with the purification of heart, one starts to realize that what am I doing? It's not the right way, what am I supposed to do? By reading Prabhupada's books, then one sees that the lifestyle I live, it's not ideal. So, and I want to become ideal. No, I want to live it the ideal way. What am I supposed to do? So then the inquiry starts. So pranipata pariprashna sevaya. So when the person comes to that platform, then it's much easier to interact, to give some way of service, to give some instructions. So we, in the beginning, when there is just a little shraddha of the person, then we should just give the instruction, just chant Hare Krishna, try to follow the regulative principles. And if you have some questions, come and ask, take prasad. So we should deal that way. But wait for when they become more sincere by the dint of their being purified. So we should not be disclosing to the people who are just in the beginning of their process like a 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the intricacies of relationships among devotees. There's no need for that. There is a time for everything. Like a child, when he doesn't know ABC, so you also don't teach him some mathematical formulas, and just take it simply. First you learn ABC. Now the child may be a special child, so he may learn the ABC very quickly. He may learn how to read and write very quickly compared to other children. So when he is ready, qualified, you can teach him something more quicker than the others, but according to one's qualification. So when you see that the devotees are struggling and after 30 years still not being able to follow fully the regulative principles, that means they are not very sincere. But nonetheless, they still following some part of devotional service, some Mishra Bhakti. So you should encourage them to do more, eat more prasad, whatever they are able to do, you should encourage them in that. Not to give up on them, but to encourage them. But don't go beyond their understanding. Then they will not be able to comprehend it. So, as a good teacher, has to be able to teach the subject from many points of view because different students, different children, they will understand it differently. So if the teacher says, okay, this is this, this is that, okay, I told you, now everybody knows. It's not necessarily true. Good teacher understands that, okay, now maybe majority of the students understand. But do everybody understand? Who doesn't understand? Okay, so you don't understand it this way. I have another way how to explain it to you, so you also understand. And few more understand. But then there are still few more who don't understand. So then the teacher explains to them, so they understand it also. So then everybody is on the same platform and they can continue further. It's a natural way that everybody has a different comprehension level, different way of understanding things. And a good teacher should be able to explain it to all. That's what preacher also should do. Should see the level of the devotee, whatever he can take, and give him that much. And when he does his own work, then you see that he becomes more purified, he comes with patience, then you continue. But if somebody doesn't want to, he's satisfied with what he got, there's nothing much you can do. Only just chant more Hare Krishna, eat more prasadam, and go among the devotees and have some discussions. But he may not be able to take much more than that. So you have to be patient with such people. And the realization, you may give so many instructions, so much knowledge, you can try to teach, and the person may seem irresponsive. But then, after some years, it suddenly clicks in the person, and he can understand everything what you taught him in a moment. That also happens. So it's not that what you are teaching to the people, it's lost. It's not waste of your time. They are absorbing it, but they are not necessarily able to comprehend it yet. It's like a children, they see what's happening, but they are not able to comprehend it, but they behave like. But once they grow up and their intelligence is functional, then immediately everything clicks into the proper place, and they can immediately use everything what they have been taught from the very young age. So it's not a waste of time, it's just one has to be patient, one has to be able to give the knowledge, share one's realization, but don't demand it is to happen now. Patience. Hare Krishna. So you are telling that we should be looking for suffering in this material world. Well, we don't have to look for suffering in this material world. We are always suffering in this material world. Temporarily, there may be some sukha dukkha, so some little enjoyment, but after enjoyment, still it comes. Just because we are born, janma mrityu jara vyadi, you cannot avoid that. You are born, you are going to die. And in the meanwhile, then you get old, and old age is not very pleasant, and disease, coronavirus, it's around, you cannot avoid it too. So we don't have to look for suffering. No. These are people who are doing austerities, like Hiranyakashipu. He was trying to get power by suffering. But we are looking for sacrifice. Sacrifice means that we sacrifice our time, our energy for the service of the Lord, for the service of devotees. So, as Srila Prabhupada says, that we don't have to look for suffering. We don't have to look for any austerity. all we should do, just follow the 4 regulative principles strictly. So that can be taken as suffering, to control our senses. And that's sufficient to come to the platform of pure devotional service, while following the instruction of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, while following the regulative principles, then that's the best. Hare Krishna. Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Pramananda.